I think it's quite often valuable to cover the basics. We can sometimes think we know it all and be pleasantly surprised to review the basics and discover some important things that we were maybe overlooking that can be very valuable for us in our lives. And for another reason, because I get a lot of questions from people where the answers are the same answers as just the basic stuff. So I wanted to cover the basic stuff so that it's really clear. And so what do I mean by the basic stuff? Well, first of all, let me set the context. What's the intention? The intention is to support you in achieving what it is that you truly want in life. And that's not just about being productive and writing the book and making $1 million and getting married and all that kind of thing. I mean, it's that too, but it's about actually really living in alignment with your values so that you can experience fulfillment. That's what really matters, so that you can really know that you're living on purpose, that you're really doing what you're here to do, that you are achieving what really matters most, and that at the end of this life, that you can really feel complete. So this is important for both material fulfillment and spiritual fulfillment. Sometimes people will think, they'll say, oh, I'm very spiritual. And so all of this nonsense about attainment and achievement and goals and desires and all that, that's just a big distraction. And I would propose to you that that's not a useful way to look at it, because if you have unfulfilled desires, whatever those desires might be, then you're not actually able to give yourself completely and fully to what you would consider to be the most important thing, whether you call that God or spirit or the divine or oneness or self or whatever you call it, whatever your view of the ultimate spiritual aspiration is. You can't give yourself completely to that if you still have any other unresolved issues or desires. And so oftentimes people overlook that and they think, well, I'll just deny all of those things. I'll just deny all of my sexual desires and all of my desires for money and my desires to get married and my desires to have children and my desires to eat good food and my desires to travel and my desires to write the book and all this kind of stuff. I'll just deny that. And it doesn't work. And many people are they get confused about this. They view those things as lower, and they view spiritual aims as higher, and they think lower is bad, higher is good, and therefore, if I just reject and deny the lower, and I just focus only on the higher, that's good. That's good. That's what I should be doing. But if you instead just consider the possibility that higher is not better and lower is not bad, instead it's all just about one entire reality. It's oneness. It's an entire totality that needs to be complete. Then it starts to maybe become easier to accept that even those very base desires, if they're not really satisfied, are holding you back from the fulfillment of total spiritual fulfillment, because it's one reality, it's one totality. So even if that it's sort of in a way it's like a bodhisattva kind of view. Okay, so that anyone uh, who is unfulfilled is thereby in a sense is holding back the totality. So everybody needs to be ultimately fulfilled for the totality to experience that. So then when you put it in that perspective, then all of those things that sometimes you might have thought were bad and wrong, maybe are not so bad and wrong. And if you start to open up to that, you could start to experience, at the very least, maybe some more ease and relief and peace, instead of having that inner conflict going all the time where it's like, I want sex, but sex is bad. I should deny sex. Or I want the $1 million, but money is bad. I should deny the $1 million. You could just put that to rest, and you could start to view yourself as a unified being and stop being so divisive. and call off that war within yourself. So that in and of itself could be enormously valuable. So what I'd like to share with you today, as I said, are the basics. They're aimed at that, aimed at helping you to understand who you are and your creative powers so that you can actually live in alignment with your desires, fulfill those desires, and experience real fulfillment and know yourself as wholeness. So that's what I'd like to talk about. And so in order to explore that, first of all, we want to start, I think, with understanding that you are a creative being. So sometimes people have this idea that, well, I am just awareness. I am the witness only, and that is the truth. And all of the rest of it, all of creation, all of manifestation, all movement, all of that is just illusion, and it's bad, and it's to be avoided, and I should not get mired in it, because if I allow myself to, then I will suffer. And so my goal in this life is really just to escape that. And I'll just affirm over and over, I am awareness, I am aware of awareness, I am awareness of awareness, I am the self, I am the self, I am the self, I am just awareness. And all this other stuff is just illusion, and I need to get rid of it. And if that's working well for you, then by all means continue with that. But if it's not, then I invite you to tell the truth about that, and maybe explore the possibility that possibly there was a misunderstanding. And so sometimes people, and I don't suppose this would apply to many of you, but to maybe some of you, you might have, like some of us, gotten caught up in that idea that there's this non-dual reality, and that non-dual reality is awareness. It is the witness, that is the only true non-dual view, and that's what's good, and anything else is bad. This kind of very divisive perspective. And maybe I laugh a little bit, because if you start to think about it just a little bit, you'll start to maybe realize that it doesn't even make any sense. So if I'm taking reality and I'm dividing it up, and then I'm saying one half of it is the non-dual reality, that's nonsense, right? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. How could half of something be not the non-dual reality? It's illogical. What would make much more sense is that the totality is the non-dual reality. And so as I often present this, you could think about it as a coin. Not that I'm saying that life or reality is a coin, but it's like a coin, in as much as a coin, as far as I'm aware, all coins have two sides. If you've ever found a coin that has only one side, please inform me, but I don't know of any such coin. I think all coins have two sides. I believe that is the nature of a coin with me. But if you had a coin, you could observe the coin, you could look at the coin, and you could turn it to one side, and then you could turn it to the other side, and it would sure seem as though there are two sides. So you could flip it over, you look at one side, flip it again, and look at the other side. So it sure seems like there's two sides. However, it's illusory. So even though it sure does seem like there's two sides, you're like, look, everybody can see there's two sides. Who would disagree there's two sides? Everybody can look and see there's two sides. What kind of craziness to say there are no sides? Well, there are sides, but the illusion is that there are two sides, when in fact there's just one coin. So if we focus on the sides, we get lost in that illusion that there are two sides, when in fact it's one coin. And the coin has, we could say, a quality of the appearance of two sides. But could you have two sides if there was not a coin? So is the coin made up of two sides? Or are the two sides qualities of a coin? There's a dependency there. The coin is primary. The two sides are qualities expressed of that primary reality. The primary reality is the coin, and that coin has an expression of these qualities of two sides. So similarly, we can get hung up. We can say, well, it seems like there's awareness, the uninvolved witness, and it seems like there's all of the activity, the illusion of life. Seems like these two things happening. Just like we can observe two sides of a coin. And then we can create whole philosophies based on that. People have done this. I mean, this is much of what religion and philosophy is based upon, is this notion where it's a focus on one side or the other. So there are those that claim this is a non-dual philosophy. It's all the witness. It's all awareness. It's all uninvolved. It's all that and only that. And there was never anything else. And then there are those that say that's nonsense. It's obvious. It's all just material reality. It's all action, activity. It's all movement. There's nothing other than that. Consciousness is merely just a byproduct of material reality. So these are kind of the two extremes. And so people can get caught up in that. And they say, take sides. Well, you materialists are wrong. I'm going to fight you. And the materialists say, well, you're idiots and we'll fight you. And they can get into a big tussle over this, but kind of missing something, which is that both of these are expressions of a single reality. And that single reality is not merely the sum of the two parts. The two apparent parts are expressions of that one reality. Just like you can't take two sides and glue them together and get a coin because they don't exist independent. So if you just, my invitation is just to observe your actual experience and notice whether or not what I'm saying is true. So have you ever been able to experience any kind of movement or activity or material reality independent of awareness, independent of consciousness? Probably not. And have you ever experienced or known awareness or consciousness as pure consciousness independent of any kind of activity? And I will suggest that you have not. This is a mistake that oftentimes people will make. They'll say, what I have in meditation. Who did that? Nobody did that. It's not possible. Because what would be observing what? If there's anything observing something, then there's still these two, this sense of this duality, the sense of these two sides. But they always go together. They're never apart. You never have one without the other because they don't exist independently. There's no such thing as just one and not the other. They always go together because the reality is not the sum of the parts. The reality is primary, and those two apparent parts are expressions of it. This life is equally spiritual. This material reality, this appearance, this movement, this activity is equally spiritual. It's all spiritual. There's nothing that's not spiritual. It's all an expression of oneness, all of it. There's nothing that's accepted from that.